Hey neighbors, the Handyman here with Initiative Coffee Company, the Bill Allan here with Bill Allan World. We're here at the Emmy Award-winning LTTV. It's time to rise and roll.
Rise and roll, yeah. Okay, so we have a jam-packed show. If you're tuning in live on Twitch, on the Initiative Coffee Co. Twitch channel, feel free to jump up in this. Welcome. We're keeping you company while crafting. Awesome. We're going to be talking about some of that too. So, Brian, we have an insane show.
An insane show.
Something happened in my brain this morning, and I just started thinking about all these things. Now,
it was like
some
a beautiful mind of gaming.
Yeah, some of it is news, in the gaming world, which is what Rise and Roll, we try to do a little bit of that too. So let's get going with some table topics, shall we?
Okay. Let's do it.
So first topic is
Thanks
quest
for following
givers.
Viking NZ.
Yes.
Quest givers.
Quest
I've heard
givers.
about this. There are some individuals that we know who are involved with
So
quest
speaking
givers.
of the crafting community, V, DMG, that's DM Gareth, he has had a long time channel, the DMG Info, where he does crafting stuff, gaming tips. He actually has like 3 or 4 different channels.
Oh, wow.
But he is one of the, what I call the godfathers of crafting in our crafting community. And then, of course, to me, the godfather, DM Scotty.
Sure.
So these two guys have known each other through the crafting community for a long time. And they live on like opposite sides of the world. But they have started a new joint called Quest Givers. Now, let me go to the page.
Please do.
While Dave's setting up a couple things. So we have, on Quest Givers, we have these 2 notable people who are going to be launching a channel where they put out a new video every Friday.
Every Friday.
Yep. And the basic idea is that they are going to co-create this stuff that is going to be content-driven, so adventures. But also, I think they're going to tie crafting terrain into the adventures.
Cool.
So not only are they going to give you basically an adventure or a campaign or a module, but they're going to show you cool terrain that you could either use if you already have it or make if you don't have it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so let's watch this.
Learn the ways of the Game Master, the Dungeon Master, and delve into the minds of the players. If you're looking for adventure, excitement, thrills, and a dice-rolling good time, grab the modules each month and play the campaign with your gaming group. With Quest Givers, DM Scotty, and DMG. They're taking you on an epic journey through the role-playing experience every Friday. You're sure to get hooked on adventure.
And we really liked the idea of creating adventures together, so we thought that'd be a lot of fun to share with you guys.
I didn't think this kind of stuff would come out of my brain. We are Quest Givers, and I'll see you in the next video.
Okay, so before autoplay just kicks in, let me turn that off. All right, so Brian, Quest Givers.
Yes.
Now, they had a website there, so I'm going to actually go to that too. It's an interesting concept because
This is like mail away adventures, right?
it's kind of like Mail Away Adventures, but on a YouTube channel.
Sure.
And they're live. I don't know if they're going to be
morning,
live or pre-recorded. That's a good question. We'll have to ask on that. So when you go to questgivers.com, they have email address, your information, what information interests you. So it's basically just getting building up a base, right? An email base.
It looks like it will be a website when it is live.
And V says pre-recorded, which makes sense because, like I said, they're on 2 opposite sides of the planet. Like, I don't remember where Gareth lives. I don't remember if he lives in South Africa or if he's from South Africa and now he lives in like Australia or something. But maybe V knows. But I know that they're not near each other.
Sure.
So the idea, though, I think
the
is
powers of
fascinating.
the internet, where
Yeah. But oh yeah, Australia. So, but I think it's a fascinating idea because these are 2 leaders in the crafting community.
Sure. By accounts, 2 pretty nice dudes.
Yeah.
In the craft. Like, I don't know Gareth, but I've met Scotty a couple of times, And he reminds me of the benevolent GM from the old D&D cartoons in quite a few ways.
Yeah.
He's just a nice guy. He's always very helpful.
Yeah.
He might give you a pony. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
maybe.
Maybe.
Or some potions, a magic ring.
A flower to beat your beholder. I don't know.
Yeah, so Viking NZ says
Cool.
I subscribe to Quest Givers.
Cool.
Yeah, so I think, obviously that was just a trailer, like a teaser. But it's something, I also subscribed, and I think that the concept is interesting. I'm trying to, and I don't know their motivations. I haven't interviewed them. Maybe that's for a follow-up, like once they launch the channel, we could have them on Rise and Roll. But, one of the things that I found interesting was the concept that if they're packaging these as adventures, they're going to sell them. I'm assuming that it's going to be maybe a pay-what-you-want system or something, or they're giving them away for free. I'm not really sure how that's going to work, but I think it's a cool concept to have not only here's some original adventures, here's some modules effectively like in the old days, and some additional concepts, some insights from the DMs who created the storyline, how to run it, some tips, some pointers, all that kind of stuff, and maybe even some playthroughs of those modules. I could see them doing all that stuff, and then obviously, like I said, the associated opportunity to showcase building terrain.
Absolutely.
One of the things that DMG and Scotty both lean towards is very easy to make playable terrain
and accessible.
Often, and it's accessible because a lot of times they use
garbage,
recycled material. Yeah. So whereas some of the other kind of leaders in the crafting community tend to be more precise. They tend to make really high quality things. So examples would be like Wylock. Who's like his stuff is borderline, some of his early stuff especially is like an engineer or an architect made it. John Susky, who doesn't have a huge following, but is by far one of the most skilled crafters I know. And V knows John. He's over at Dungeons and Glue Sticks. And then Blackmagic Craft with Jeremy. They kind of lean towards very precise stuff. They're using the Proxon tables. They're they're very precision and detail oriented, where a lot of DMG and Scotty's stuff is like, hey, I found this cardboard and some extra scrap foam in a dumpster and some toilet paper rolls. Right. And so what I like about that's how I got into it, is that it's cheap materials and they're showcasing how to do stuff in a really easy and playable way. Right. Hoarding craft materials. Now, it's not as much of a problem, as it was, but let me just say that I was, like many crafters, a crafting material hoarder.
I mean, if you've been paying attention, his crafting material is garbage. So,
and it was kind of becoming a problem.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I thought, that was something that DMG and Scotty mentioned last week that they were going to be launching. And that was over on the internet. Creators, role-playing.
Keep an eye on that. We'll keep an eye on it too, and hopefully we can touch base with one or both of them.
Yeah, I'm thinking Scotty might be the one because he's in he's in
1 hour
Eastern
away from our time zone instead of 7. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's an interesting thing, and like I said, we're all a community, and these are two paragons of our community who we want to share with and help out, because I think it's going to be a cool project.
Yeah.
So, all right, next big block for this show. We've talked about this previously, but only in little segments. But and I've talked about it on my channel. You've talked about it during games and stuff, and that is music and sound effects in your game. It's a thing. Now, a lot of people know some of the big hitters, and we'll go over them, but let's talk just the basics first, Brian. So, if you're running a game, whether it's for a stream or just in your dining room, basement, wherever you play games with people, adding music and sound effects can help make your game a little more immersive. It can help your players kind of get into the game a little more, right? And that's regardless of genre. We're not just talking D&D. If you're playing a vampire game or a Call of Cthulhu game, you could find music that just helps create that immersive environment. And to me, music is a lot like terrain and minis and mats and stuff like that, is that it adds a little something. Do you need it? No.
It adds or it takes away.
Yes.
Right.
So let's talk pros
Sure.
and cons, and then we'll talk about resources. So the pro is that it would create more of an immersive environment. Talk about the con.
Sure. So one of the issues I run into with music at the table is at some point, someone is going to try to take control of music at your table. And if it's not you, it's going to be like pop music or, you know what I mean? Like somebody's going to like play their playlist that they love to play while they drive, which is very distracting from the narrative you're trying to come up with together, right? So one of the benefits of using music at the table is that you get to take control of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you get to make sure it's focused on the relevant things, and you don't end up listening to Born or whatever.
That's an interesting point, because I didn't actually think about that. The fight for who controls music. And the minute you mentioned it, I thought about my guys' gaming weekend when I, twice a year, if I'm lucky, I gather with a bunch of old college buddies to play games. And I was the usurper. I took over music.
Right.
I'm like, I can easily admit it. Like, I was not the DM, but I came prepared with a phone loaded with like 14 gigs of gaming music, and I was
at least yours was gaming music, right? Like, I've been at tables in my household where like we're listening to like indie rock, and I'm like, this has nothing to do with our content currently, and if anything, it's distracting me from running this table rather than supporting like the table, right?
So one of the cons I was thinking about, though, was more the challenge of the DM DJ.
Sure.
So if you are the DM and you are in control of the music, and you've added music or sound effects or both into your job, you are now multitasking, and that task can be challenging. Like, you can get distracted by like, oh, I got to set up the music for this battle, and a lot of times it becomes a detriment then, because you're kind of breaking, people's concentration, and you're breaking the zone in order to add in music or sound effects, right? So you don't necessarily, as a DM or GM, want to be in a position where you're distracted by having to be the DJ. So,
which I think is why a lot of the services we're going to talk about here are going to be very helpful for you if you're going to do music.
Right.
We'll get there, Danny.
So yeah, Danny, welcome, Danny.
In the list of things.
It's on the list, yes. So one of the things.
I will say that like it's not necessary per se, and if you're doing like streaming, live stream is one thing, but if you're recording a game, it's oftentimes more harmful than good. I found out during the Seat of Golden Tears editing that there's a reason people don't put live music into live shows if they plan on editing them.
If you plan on editing, it can be a nightmare.
You can't edit them.
Yep. Yeah, you'll notice very quickly.
Yeah.
So, Dave, let's go to the laptop. So the first one up is going to be Syrinscape. So Syrinscape is possibly one of the best well-known
it's definitely
options.
one of the major players because it has support from Geek and Sundry,
and it's got great resources. You could there's a free trial version.
You might have heard of Syrinscape.
There's Ben. We know Ben.
And Syrinscape is cool because as they have a partnership with Wizards of the Coast right now, at least, and I think they're working on a few others. So they have specific soundtracks for each hard book that comes out. So they have like what's the new book? Dragon Heist.
Yeah, Dragon Heist.
Like playlist that includes like all of the block text from characters in the book.
Yeah,
is voice acted by people at Wizards.
That's awesome.
So they've really gone through and like made.
Well, and you could see, I just paused it on this part of the video, but one of the advantages, in addition to the library that you're talking about in terms of sound effects, voices, the link with the company, is the interface. So Syrinscape has an interface that kind of facilitates being a DM DJ, basically allowing you with relatively simple controls to set up your music for scenes, for adventures, whatever. So it's not just playing things off of a playlist. It kind of gives you some flexibility.
And it's all I don't think there's music in Syrinscape. I think it's all ambient.
It's ambient stuff, yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's all like randomized and on a loop, so you don't end up having that same like 5 steps of the beginning of each
Right.
playthrough.
It's got a built-in mixer. Basically, if you wanted to go full blast, that Syrinscape is probably the cream of the crop, right? Like that's the grade A option. Next one, and I'm not ranking these per se, but the next one is Tabletop Audio, and this is the one Danny mentioned. So Tabletop Audio is 100% advertising free. It's got chunks of songs that are kind of labeled and, you know, different genres. They're loopable. You could set up lists. They're searchable through, you know, fantasy, sci-fi, historical,
Is that
modern.
a free service too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, here, I just clicked on the fantasy tab. So, Barovian Castle, Graveyard, Floating Ice Castle, Mummy's Tomb, Hermit Hut, Sunken Temple, Milltown, Temple of Helm. So, this is basically a huge music library for, I mean, it just goes on and on
huge
and
is
on.
relative. It's large, right? I think
it's large and growing, though. I think
Sure.
when this first came out, I wasn't too impressed by the options, and they just
this
keep
is a lot
adding.
more.
They just keep adding to it. And that's just the fantasy tab. So, yeah, so it's as Danny pointed out in her comment, it's definitely it's growing, and it looks like there's just a bunch of different genres options here. And some of them are repeated. So, like, I went to the fantasy tab, and there was
Right.
Barovian Castle and Graveyard. Well, that's also in horror.
horror, yeah.
And that's fine, because some of that ambient music can work.
Right.
Okay, so you could set that up, Tabletop Audio. That's another option. This one I found, and I haven't had a chance to play with it, but it's Ambient Mixer. So ambientmixer.com, and there's an RPG tab, okay? So there's a bunch of these featured atmospheres, right? So I'm going to go to Road to Fandalen. Now, when I click on it, it's not just playing in music. It's actually going to give me the options for a virtual mixer. So
wow.
here on this interface, you see, I can actually control the different tracks. So if I don't like the sound of birds chirping, I could be like, no, I'm going to bring that down in the mix. I can mute it completely if I want to. Now, this goes back to that challenge, though, right, of being the DM DJ. This is an awesome virtual tool, and it's free, right? So in many ways, it's similar to Syrinscape in terms of overall controls. However, this would make your job a little challenging. Now, you could set it and forget it. You could be like, you know, I want a little more wind through the trees, and I'm going to, they don't have horses, so I'm just going to mute that, you know, and I'm going to bring up the sound of walking more, right? And I could bring the master sound. I can control that here. So there are a lot of cool things here that I can do. Those kind of controls for a free thing that's pretty amazing, right? If it were me, if this were my table, though, I would have one of the players maybe control this.
That's smart.
You know, and have that be like, hey, you're the DM assistant.
Just kind of workshop out some of
Right,
the work.
right. And that way you get, you know, and actually you could do that for anything. One of the players could be Syrinscape. One of the players could be running this. One of the players could be running Tabletop Audio.
Facilitating
Yes.
combat or whatever.
Right. Okay, so those are all really cool kind of control-based things. Now, this is one channel, and actually there's a total of 3. They're the combined channel of Derek and Brandon Fiechter, and then Derek has his own channel, Brandon has his own channel. These guys produce a crazy amount of music. And a lot of gamers might know this already, but if you don't, go subscribe to all of their channels, because they put out tons and tons of music. So you could pick any one of these playlists, right? And you've got tons and tons of tracks. And they just go on and on and on, dude. It's incredible. Many genres and many kind of descriptors. It's very searchable. And then the other thing that they put out are these compilations. So they'll do like 1 hour Celtic elf music, you know. Cool. So you can go to their channel, and if I just search 1 hour, it's 1 hour of dark lullaby music, 1 hour of vampire music, 1 hour of Japanese spa, 1 hour of spooky, happy, fairy tale, Roman music, Beautiful Mermaid, Greek,
That's cool.
Japanese, fantasy, epic instrumental, forest music, Vikings, steampunk, Halloween, dark space, beautiful fairy music, dark waltz, old western. I mean, pick
goes
your
on,
genre.
yeah.
They
That's
got it.
cool.
They got it covered, more than covered. So I use this when we have played the Handyman campaign and stuff that I'm not streaming, because I didn't pay them for the rights to use it. So I wouldn't suggest using their stuff on your stream unless you pay the rights to use it. Now,
Touch base with
that said, I have touched base with them. I reached out to them about 2 years ago, actually, when I was looking at doing the Handyman as a regular show. And they were very, very reasonable. Like when I explained that this would be a school-based program where we're playing D&D and I was looking for a music library, it was stupid cheap. I don't want to say the price, Brian, because
you don't want to undercut.
I don't
any
want to
other
undercut
deal they have with anyone else.
But let me just say that the stupidity of how cheap it was shows their generosity.
And that's because they're interested in the community.
Yes.
Right?
And I learned a little bit about them in communicating via email with them. They're very, very nice guys.
Sure.
They're not, big corporate backed people. They're just individual, really talented music writers and performers who were very willing to come up with a reasonable price to let me license their entire music library.
Wow. That's substantial.
Yes. They have 361,000 subs, but it was really cheap. Yeah, that's about all I need to say on that topic. So, but if you're just playing at your table and you're looking for great music, like go check them out because they're incredible.
Irony Golem takes a lot of skill, but in the right hands have the condition of party that a certain sound is jump scare doom. One of the great all-time tricks. Jaws baseline, Halloween Friday the 13th sound lines.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm talking about when things get distracting, though. I think if you find an audio track that is too famous, it just becomes more of a distraction than like I don't feel conditioned to be scared when I hear Friday the 13th. I feel conditioned to be annoyed.
Well, okay, so here's the last chunk of this music topic, table topic. So movie soundtracks, right? We all know movie and TV soundtracks sometimes can be awesome background music for your game. So for example, I have Excalibur, Conan the Barbarian, Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings. Like I have all those soundtracks, and I do play them from time to time. But as you were saying, if they're really recognizable, sometimes that thing is, if I play the Conan battle music, my players are going to know that I'm about to throw a bad guy at them, right? They know that a battle's coming.
I would think of it like
you don't want to make it predictable.
I would think of it like a choir. Like you don't put pop artists in choirs because their voice becomes independently recognizable, and it doesn't lend itself to the unity of the choir. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good way to kind of break it out, because I think, here's another example. Glenn Danzig many years ago produced a CD called Black Aria, and I think there's a Black Aria 2, and it's just ambient, gothic kind of doom music, and it could work for D&D. I used it for Call of Cthulhu. I used it for Vampire.
Sure.
And it's great, but at a certain point when you play those recognizable soundtracks over and over again, so I guess my takeaway with any movie or TV show soundtracks or any kind of soundtrack things is use them sparingly and intermix them with other music, maybe. And there are, I am subscribed to like 6 different music channels, creators on YouTube. So the Fiechter Brothers are awesome, but there's, Adrian Von Ziegler, Cryo Chamber, depending on what genre you're looking for. A lot of the ones that I subscribe to are really more like post-apocalyptic and sci-fi kind of, and horror oriented. So they work with other genres of games too. So.
Oh, okay. The person who wrote, Irony Golem was talking about the people who wrote those lines, not the lines themselves.
Oh.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Those simple lines. And so then here, I said that the discussion of soundtracks was going to be the last part, But it should go without saying that if you have any musical talent, it's really easy to make your own gaming soundtracks.
Mm-hmm.
So I've done stuff just with GarageBand, like simple GarageBand stuff. And if you're not really even that musically talented, you could still do stuff with GarageBand or other kind of simple, free, music creation software stuff. So that's the table topic on music, Bri. Let's move on to games. So, Brian, you have played Baldur's Gate, and you played Baldur's Gate 2. And now I hear that there's a new game by Avalon Hill under the Wizards of the Coast umbrella called Betrayal at Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, so Betrayal at Baldur's Gate came out, I guess, a year ago now.
Dave, you could go to the
maybe
laptop while Brian's talking.
And so they took the Betrayal rule set and stapled the Baldur's Gate setting on top of it.
Brian, for people like me who don't know what Betrayal is, what's Betrayal?
Betrayal is a board game that involves 3 to 5 players. And the idea is like you start the game all like trapped in this house trying to get out. And you have a series of rolls throughout the adventure called haunt rolls. And when you finally fail the haunt roll, the haunt begins. And the haunt is some classic horror trope that invades the house. Sometimes it's demons, sometimes it's ghosts, sometimes it's the powerful Ouroboros. But the idea is that you don't know who the betrayer is until the haunt starts. And so generally it's the person who fails that roll. But oftentimes it's someone else, and you have to go through a certain series of events before you can escape.
So I'm looking at the components. There's rule books. There are tiles. So is this the kind of thing where you lay out tiles and it could be different every time?
It's different every time.
Awesome. Okay.
The original book had like 78 haunt scenarios that you could come
there
up
are
with.
cards. There are
There's
tokens.
Cards. They came out with the first expansion in October 2 years ago, I think. Widow's Walk. Betrayal at Baldur's Gate came out last year. And then this year, they're actually putting out Betrayal Legacy, which I'm super pumped about, which takes the Betrayal game and puts it in a legacy game setting. And for those that aren't familiar with the legacy board games, it's a board game where the same people sit down at the table every time, and the game changes based off the outcome of the last game. So
it's a little bit like a role-playing game in the sense that you have a
board
campaign.
game. Yeah.
Okay.
So like you're actually going to be tearing up cards and writing on cards in Sharpie and like making permanent changes to the game. It started with Risk Legacy. There's 5 or 6 legacy games. There's Risk. There's Pandemic. There's a couple of games that came out as a legacy game, like Gloomhaven, Seafair, I think is called. But Betrayal is the next entry into that list.
So this is out.
So
as
the
of
Baldur's
October.
Gate came out. Did it come out?
Oh,
it came out last October.
Yeah.
But the Betrayal Legacy game comes out, I think, next month.
Cool. Cool. That's it seems like there are a lot of options here. So the house on Betrayal on the house on the hill. Was that?
Yeah. So that's the original game. Came out in like '89, I think.
Okay.
Maybe 92, and its first expansion came out in 2014.
So is this a re-release under the Wizards umbrella, or?
So Wizards of the Coast is owned by Hasbro that also owns Avalon
Hill.
Games.
Okay.
So it's not under the Wizards umbrella, I don't think. I mean, the Baldur's Gate one is because it's the branding.
Yeah.
But Baldur's Gate is bringing together a lot, Hasbro is bringing together a lot of big names in tabletop. So, I don't know what that is.
Duel Master.
Oh.
It's so Japanese right now. All right. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So for those of you who are maybe interested in checking out the Betrayal line, now you know more about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a fun game.
Cool. All right, so Brian, we're now going to talk about MyMiniFactory.
Please do.
So,
you know all about MyMiniFactory.
Not really though. That's the funny thing is that I at first I thought it was just one business, and I'm still confused. So
Oh, it looks like a Thingiverse or
yes, it looks like Thingiverse, and it also, but I think that there are free things, so people can share these designs,
Sure.
and you can get plenty of free things. Empowering creators to share digital objects with 3D printer owners around the world. But I also think they offer printing services.
Oh, okay.
So
that might be through the creators.
Through the
there's
creators.
3 or 4 of these platforms.
yeah,
Thingiverse
So
works
how
the
it
same way,
works-
and Shapeways works the same way. You can like get the print file, or you can buy like the printed product from the person that created the file.
right. So it looks like it's a community, but there's also like store options.
Yeah.
Right? So, ooh, that looks cool. Featured tabletop. Let's look at featured tabletop. Okay.
That's pretty cool stuff.
Yes, I will join later, but not right now. I like that guy. He looks
Yeah.
like a big old strong Hulk. He is. That
He
is
is
Hulk.
the Hulk.
That's Hulk. Or a Hulk.
A Hulk.
A bestial version of
It's
the Hulk.
probably not the Hulk because that's owned by Disney, but it's a Hulk.
So, yeah, so some of these things are free, some
Right.
of them are paid. But we received a nice box from
Oh, yeah.
MyMiniFactory
Cool.
of items to review, and they sent a bunch of playable terrain, which is really cool.
And you'll be working with that on D&D with high school kids?
Yeah,
High school
we'll
students?
we'll
Sorry.
bring people into it.
Cool.
But there were 2 different creators that had stuff in the box. One of them was 3D hexes, and the other one was Hobgoblin 3D. Now, Hobgoblin 3D I had heard of, but 3D hexes was new. So this was some really cool stuff. But they also shared with me one of their initiatives that they have called Scan the World, which I think is cool. So it's not gaming related. I mean, MyMiniFactory does terrain and minis and all sorts of stuff, but Scan the World is more of a what I'll call like a nonprofit initiative that MyMiniFactory
Would you
is.
call it a nonprofit initiative because they call it a nonprofit initiative?
Do they?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Nonprofit initiative.
See,
Suspicion.
I didn't even think of that. But the idea is fascinating.
Yeah.
So the idea is through taking, a multitude of high-res photos of historical pieces and artwork, they build the files for 3D printing,
That's cool.
which is kind of mind-boggling because in a sense it's like preserving and archiving things throughout the world in a digital format that could be reprinted.
Sure.
Right? So if
That's cool.
2,000 years from now somebody opened up a vault and figured out how to get the computers and the 3D printers working, they could rebuild all of the ancient world.
They could, between
could.
their fighting off of mutants and
Yes.
monsters.
In the apocalypse. The Thinker. So could that be to scale? My God, what if you could just print that statue in 3? How many years would it take to print? Years.
Depends on your printer, I suppose.
Or I'm sure it's modular. You'd probably print it out in
You'd
like
have to.
pieces and stuff like that. I don't know enough about 3D printing, but it looks cool. So I just thought that was kind of a
about that 3D printing.
yes, and it looks like a really cool kind of initiative.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that I like about Thingiverse and the MyMiniFactory and all these kind of things is that like if you're into 3D printing, it's a great community and a resource. If you're not necessarily into 3D printing, it can still be a way to get into it and have like a lot of mentors who can tell you about, all the options, right? So that's kind of another cool thing.
Cool.
All right, Brian.
Yes.
Last table topic.
Did you want to talk about that or no?
Oh yeah, sorry. Thank you.
Yeah.
MyMiniFactory, nice people that they are, have given an incentive to our audience, and that incentive is that if you order anything and you use our promo code, you get 5%.
10%.
You get 10% off.
And then 5%.
And then they
of the
give
sale
5%
goes
of the sale to
probably
us.
the high school, right?
Yeah, to help out the
To
club.
help out The TV club.
Not me, not Brian, the club.
Right.
So maybe you're one of those people who has a 3D printer and you want to buy something cool. Use our promo code to get a discount. And the promo code is Bill Allan. BILLALLAN. So promo code equals Bill Allan. Yeah. So use that if you're a 3D printing kind of person, and you get a discount, and it doesn't cost you anything extra, and you help out our program.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool, though.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, last table topic, Brian, before Random Monster Monday.
Ooh.
And that is Kickstarter. So we oftentimes start the show with a Kickstarter, but we're going to close the show with a Kickstarter today. And this is backing a documentary called The Dreams in Gary's Basement, a documentary on Gary Gygax.
Cool.
Yes. Dave, are we ready to cut to the laptop? Yes. Here we go.
My father was a shoe repairman by trade. He didn't go down a traditional path. We were very poor at that time, and then he creates this innovative game. I think he knew he had something.
Gary Gygax loved all kinds of games, and he had a feel for what made a game that was fun to play.
I mean, he did look like a wizard.
He had a facility with numbers.
A great man, a creative visionary.
You couldn't talk to the guy for 5 minutes without getting pumped up.
Welcome to 330 Center Street. This is Gary Gygax's house.
So he's living in Lake Geneva. He had 5 kids at that point. Then he lost his job.
They were really living close to the edge.
At the same time, he was banging away on a third-hand typewriter, writing what would eventually become Dungeons & Dragons.
This is a substantial breakthrough in intellectual history.
All of a sudden, you found a credible way to make fantasy real.
It's story time. It's playtime with friends.
It's deep play. You consciously, collectively agree to enter into an imaginal world.
It's wild.
Oh shit, this game isn't half bad.
This is a word-of-mouth phenomenon that spread like a meme before the internet.
People were comparing it to heroin because they just couldn't believe how obsessed people became.
With that came the controversy of allegations of Satanism.
That was terribly threatening to the dominant culture.
This game affects the most intelligent of our children. It's white versus black witchcraft.
There was this menace of, is some freak gonna try to get to Gary?
There was the disappearance of James Damascene Bird.
There's no such thing as bad publicity. Make it forbidden and everybody wants it.
1976, it's 300,000. 1977, it's 700,000.
The sales tripled one year and tripled the next year.
And now I've got a pile of money and I'm going to Beverly Hills. I'm going to have fun.
Gary has an amazing mansion,
a Rolex watch and a matching ring.
He's making cartoons. He's having parties.
I walked by the jacuzzi and there are like 2 Playboy bunnies bubbling around in it.
He's living the dream.
Gary ultimately came to understand that he had a problem.
You were in danger of losing Dungeons and Dragons itself.
Grudges certainly were produced.
Real lives got affected and real people got hurt.
Sometimes lightning strikes, but lightning is a wild element.
This is not a man who has an MBA and 20 years of business experience. This is a man who started it in his basement.
The stairs are very narrow, and they're quite treacherous.
You know, as a gamer and media person, I'm always excited to watch stories about gaming.
Sure.
And there was that series of D&D documentaries that were like fighting and competing for rights to produce the official D&D documentary that had been going on for years, and there was all this stuff shot, and some of it was edited, but like I don't know where it got tangled up, but these 2 competing documentaries basically canceled each other out.
Right.
And now there's this. And this is backed by Gary's son, Luke, and I'm assuming by default, like the entire Gygax dynasty.
Sure.
It's 171% funded with 24 days remaining. That's so awesome. They needed 25,000 as a goal. They're at 42. And there's almost a month left.
Cool.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about
putting together
backing
a whole movie for $25,000.
Well, my guess is that a lot of it's
already shot.
And a lot of it's stock footage, and I recognized a lot of the faces in there. You know, some of the old masters, you know, are in there, and then there's, you know, the historian Paul Stormberg, a friend that we made the acquaintance of at Gen Con 50 and also at GaryCon, and you know, there are kind of keepers of lore, you know. But here's the funny thing. So for $20, you can get the digital download, which I'm assuming is HD. I don't know why
whatever.
I don't know why
whatever
they
can do in a lot of it's stock footage and old footage that obviously won't be HD.
Right, but I'm saying overall, I'm assuming it's the HD thing, right? So, and that's a fair price for something that, you know, takes a lot of effort. The next step up goes to $50 for the Blu-ray with bonus features. It's a DVD and Blu-ray with bonus features. It comes with a full-length director's commentary and behind-the-scenes featurette. So that's kind of cool. I don't know if I'm at that pledge level.
Sure.
Like 50 might seem like a lot of dough.
On the other hand, like 50 seems like a lot of dough, but we also have access to all the people that we would, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
We're kind of in a special circumstance where, like, it's not like we're never going to meet the people who would be doing those commentary.
Yeah.
And we could just go talk to them and be like, hey, tell us about this film you did.
Right.
You know, like, but that's because of a special relationship we have with various conventions.
I could see, like, real big fans buying into that.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? For sure. For $100, you get the collector's edition with the case. For the enthusiast who is serious about D&D history, this multi-disc set is loaded with hours of extended interviews with the hobby's most respected legends and historians. All discs fit neatly into a custom-printed slipcase to look sharp on your game room shelf. That is tempting.
Right.
Because I'm that nerd who would like to watch all the stuff that they cut out.
Sure.
You know, I would sit and watch Tim Kask. I do. I subscribe to his YouTube channel, and I sit and watch him blather on about different topics just because I like listening to a crotchety old man talk about the history of the game. That's tempting. $100 collector's edition plus gift. Give the gift of Gary. This special early backer pledge level is limited to only 250 backers. Backers who pledge at this level will receive all rewards from the $100 pledge level and will also get a standard copy of the DVD that can be gifted to a friend. That's kind of cool. $1,500 or more buys you a credit in the film. There we go. So it went from $100 to $1,500. Now, if money were no object and I was really that nerd, I would totally do that.
It's a producer credit.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm buying my way into the film.
Right.
That's great. And there are people who will do that.
Absolutely.
In fact, now it says 2 backers, but I don't know if it doesn't say of how many.
My guess is it's not limited.
It's not limited. You're right. See, so on this collector's edition, limited, 72 left of 250. Wow. That's pretty good, actually.
It's making it limited.
So 178
Bonus
backers,
discs,
178 backers got this level, this pledge level. So that's kind of cool. A producer credit is $3,500.
And you get a plaque.
A plaque. A screen-used item from the film with documentation.
Cool.
Yeah, so there's all the pledge levels. So, you know, I'm kind of okay with just maybe
getting a digital
stretch goals. What? A video tour of the house, of the Gygax house.
Oh, these
the
are like
war
special
game roots
features
of
that they're
D&D. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. This is
working on a
locked.
Mike
So they're
Carr
working on a Mike
extended
Carr
interview.
extended interview. Frank Metzer extended
Cool.
interview. Yeah. So let's see. Pat Kilbane is the director. Matt Renoir is the director of photography. John Bennett's the sound engineer. Melissa
Bill's
McLean.
going to nerd out here about crew.
I
for
don't
a
think
few
I
minutes.
know any of them, but that's
Yeah, I don't
cool.
think
So, yeah. So anyway,
That's awesome.
It's, you know what, for $20, I would happily get that and watch it and
regularly
geek out about it. Yeah, like it's
have screenings of it at a cafe we don't have.
Yes, exactly. So, just thought that was cool. I don't know if any of you guys are planning on, you know, Hey, Sean. If any of you guys are going to back this, or maybe some of our audience has backed it.
Maybe.
But that's all. So, Brian, as we approach the end of the show, this very lengthy, almost hour-long show, I'm not sure if you know what time it is, but I'll tell you, Brian, it's time to unplug my laptop and move it to the adjacent coffee table.
Is it Monsters O'Clock?
Yes, it's Monsters O'Clock, Brian.
Ooh, boy.
Now, last week,
we talked about
our friend Carlos jammed in with us, right?
Yeah.
And it was a fun talk, right?
Yeah.
So, in case you weren't here last week, this is what happens. I flip the pages, Brian says stop, and whatever monster we stop on is what we have to talk about, okay? And we're providing you, our beloved audience, with ideas for how to use that monster. You ready?
I'm ready.
Tell me when.
Stop.
Oh my God. All right. Left side of the page is dinosaurs. Right side is the displacer beast. I feel like displacer beast maybe is something that people know how to use already.
Yeah.
Ooh, I got an idea. You pick one, I'll pick one.
Oh, jeez. That's not super helpful. Let's see. Okay.
Dinosaurs?
I'm going to do Displacer Beast.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're going to do Displacer Beast. We have 10 seconds. Ready.
Okay, go.
All right, I am going to choose the Plesiosaurus, a large beast, unaligned, with an armor class of 13, a swim speed of 40. It can hold its breath for an hour because it's an ocean creature, Brian. It has a bite attack. It's only a CR2.
It's got a bite attack. That's it.
It's got a bite attack. Plus 6 to hit, reach 10 feet, 1 target, 3d6 plus 4. Well, that'll put a hurting on people. Okay, so a plesiosaur is a dinosaur that lurks in the depths. And in my encounter, Brian, I'm going to set this in a port city where there's major shipping coming in and out. And, you know, so ships full of goods and cargo, as well as passenger ships that are coming in and out of this harbor. Okay. And very recently, there have been very mysterious things that have happened to ships that are coming to the harbor. Ships have been utterly destroyed, right? Just knocked and bashed from beneath, from some unknown creature, right? People getting eaten, right? Survivors tell of a great beast underwater. They couldn't see what it was because it always attacks at night. And the party needs to find out what's going on. And as they go out to find out what's going on, they encounter this plesiosaur. And the party, very adeptly, even though their ship takes incredible amounts of damage, the party is able to defeat the plesiosaur. But they find out that this is not a one-of-a-kind beast. In fact, there are more. But what the greater mystery is what's bringing these beasts from the depths to attack these ships? What evil villain is controlling these beasts?
Subaquatic reincarnation spells.
And why are these beasts attacking certain ships? That's my encounter.
Cool. Let this be a lesson to you. Always go first. Yeah. Because mine is not so good. I
don't know anything about the displacer beast, so whatever you say is going to be good.
And I don't think I didn't realize that they were fake creatures until I saw Unseelie Origins, and that's what sparked for me. So
yes.
I am going to use displacer beasts as tamed beasts for a Fey encounter, right? So I'm going to put them in an encounter with, what are they? It's AC 13, 85 hit points, speed of 40, CR3. I might put them in an encounter with an 8th level party with probably 3 displacer beasts and a night hag.
Is the night hag, are they like her pets?
Yeah, they're her
pets.
Okay.
What's the displacer beast's challenge? I mean, what is it best at? Displacement,
not getting
right?
hit. Yeah, so that's the big thing is displacer beasts. You always have disadvantage on attack rolls against them. because of displacement. You can never tell really where they are. So
that's gigantic, dude.
Yeah, that's huge.
That is.
Yeah,
now,
that's why
here's
there's
a question.
CR3 and yours was a CR2.
Nerd game meta moment.
Yep.
Let's say though that I cast Fairy Fire on them. Is it now canceled out?
Yeah.
So Fairy Fire would cancel out their displacement disadvantage component and just give you regular flat roll.
But keep in mind, that doesn't eliminate the disadvantage flag. So you're still dealing with...
You have disadvantage to Fairy Fire them? Or no?
No. Because that's a
save. Okay.
But what that means is the rogues in your parties don't get the sneak attack.
Oh.
Because anytime you have the disadvantage flag, you don't get the sneak attack.
Even if it's been canceled out?
Even if it's been canceled out, you still have a flag. So
the Night Hag has these 3 sweet pets, her kitties, right? And she's tricked the party somehow, and then when she's ready to kill them, she has the beasts pounce.
Right. And maybe they look like cats or pet dogs or something.
Where did you get the 8th level component? Is it because you're sending 3 of them?
I'm sending 3 of them, and I think the Night Hag is a CR7, but I don't know off the top of my
That would be a tough encounter.
Yeah. So, and like based off the encounters I see in hard books, it's usually a slew of lower level things because it's all about bounded accuracy and outnumbering more so than outmighting. So
excellent.
I would say 8th, and I would say like it's whether it's a challenging encounter or an easy encounter. I don't think it matters. I think it's an interesting encounter, and it's going to be notable for the party.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, good. So that was that was a neat
Monster Monday. Monsters o'clock.
So thank you once again for all of you who tuned in.
Thank you,
Twitch
the Gaming
live
Club
stream.
8, for coming in. Unfortunately, last minute.
Yeah, but you know what? This will be up on the Initiative Coffee Company YouTube channel, where we archive all the episodes. So even if you're not watching live, hopefully you got a lot out of this episode.
Yeah.
If you have any comments or questions or just things that you'd like us to talk about, go ahead and comment below.
Don't forget about that promo code Bill Allan at MyMiniFactory. That'll get you 10% off and send 5% of your sale to the TV program here at Lyons Township High School and LTTV.
Every dollar.
Emmy award-winning LTTV.
That's right. We're working hard. And that's it, Brian.
Yeah, I think
so. We'll see you next week on Rise and Roll. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe, spread the word, tweet it, share it, and all the things.
And as always, roll together. Hey neighbors, thanks for watching our video. Make sure you check out our other videos here and here. Make sure you subscribe down there and get the notifications from the bell up there. See you next time.